be doing a grooming box tour, so I'll just be showing you what grooming boxes I use and what I keep in them. As you can see, I actually have 3 grooming boxes, which might seem quite a lot. And we actually have 5 equines, well 3 donkeys, 2 horses. I'll start off with my silver one. This box was actually originally a navy blue or a royal blue sort of colour when we first got it, but I did spray paint it silver, which you might have seen in one of my vlogs. In here there's not actually anything. I use this box when I take Casper to shows or pony club and things like that. So in here, when I do take him to shows, I put in my stirrups, my gloves, Casper's tendon boots for show jumping, and just bits and bobs like that. Next box we'll go on to is my purple box where I keep my grooming kit. This is in purple because I probably ride Casper the most, so I groom him the most. So it's in purple because that's sort of Casper's colours, as you might have already seen. All of my boxes are from the brand Easy Step and Carry. Now in the UK, a lot of us actually use plastic grooming boxes instead of grooming totes. This is just because the weather's usually a lot wetter and rainier and muddier, so it's just a bit more practical, especially in the winter. So if I open it up in here, you can see all of my grooming brushes. My main ones, like this one here, is from the brand Oster, which quite a lot of you might know. They're in the colour grey and blue or grey and navy, so they basically go with everything. My first set of grooming brushes I actually got from my next door neighbour second hand because she recently sold her horse, so she didn't need any of her horsey things. So I actually had those for a good couple, like 5 years almost, and then they just started falling apart. So my dad got me the Oster collection brushes when he went to America. The first brush I have here is just a body brush, so it's nice and soft. You'd use a body brush like this when your horse is in a stable because it does get out quite a lot of dust quite easily, but then it also can take out and strip your horse's coat from natural oils, so you wouldn't use this if your horse was kept in the field. The next brush I have here is a dandy brush, or if you're in the US I think you call it a stiff brush. This you use to flick off dust and mud when your horse is usually kept in the field. You can use it if it's in a stable, but usually you'd use a body brush instead. So those 2 brushes are kept in this part of the compartment. Then I have another body brush, but this one is actually my dedicated brush which I use removing stains on the horses. So when they have grass stains or stable stains, I use my stable stain spray with this just because it can get quite gunky with the spray on it, so I don't like to use that on any of my other brushes. So this is just by the company Shires. And I also have a matching face brush which is nice and soft for brushing their face with. So they're kept in the compartment next to my Oster brushes. And then here I have my rubber curry comb, and you can actually see I've used it so much that these spikes have actually become little nubs. They've like worn down so much. I don't use it too much in the winter for getting rid of hard mud, but I do use it definitely a lot in the spring when they're shedding. And I also like to use it as a massage brush. I know not many people like using these brushes, but I actually really like it. Nice to give Casper a massage after he's been ridden. And you can actually see here there's a little dent in it where Mickey decided he would have a little chew on it. So, and then I have one of my favourite brushes, which is my magic brush. This is actually a fake magic brush. It's from the company HY, just because it was cheaper and also I wanted it to be grey so it matched everything in my grooming kit. But this is basically just a weird version of a plastic curry comb. Its bristles are a lot finer, so it's a lot easier to get rid of dry mud and bits and bobs like that. So they slot in quite nicely in the little compartment there. Then I have my mane brush, pretty standard mane brush, just use it for brushing their manes and tails. I don't really use the plastic tooth comb too often just because I do personally prefer the metal ones. And then this is my metal one, which this is still the metal one that my neighbour gave me. So it is quite old, but it still works fine and looks fine and everything. With that brush, a finer one. So I use these 2 when pulling Casper's mane, though I don't really pull his mane very often just because it's not very nice to have your hairs ripped out of your head, but yep. Then I have my hoof pick. This is actually one of my favourite hoof picks I've ever had, just because the end of it is so spiky, but it just gets the dirt out so easily compared to the other ones I've ever had. Probably saw this brush in my last vlog, but because my hoof pick doesn't come with a brush, this is just a regular dish brush which I do use as a hoof brush, so for getting rid of bits of dirt, any remaining bits in their hoof, just to brush it out. And they all fit very well in the little compartment here. And then underneath everything on the little tray or tote I have here, if I just lift it up, I have some more bits and bobs. So this is just how everything looks at the bottom. In here I have a sponge which I use for cleaning my tack, and some saddle soap, though my saddle soap is a bit worn down so I might need to get a new bar soon. And then I have this sweat scraper which I use for getting off water or sweat off the horse's back. This same sweat scraper I did actually get from my neighbour. And I also have this metal shedding blade which also doubles up as a sweat scraper, so I don't really need the old one anymore, but I just keep it in there just in case. I also have this old flannel or rag sort of thing, which is just really useful to have in your grooming kit if you want to clean out their nose, if it's got a bit of dust in. I have this box which contains plaiting bands which are in white, and that's just for plaiting for shows and pony club. And I also have the same box but in a smaller version where I put my studs, which I use for show jumping on grass or when doing cross country. And then I actually have a pencil case in my grooming kit because in here I keep all my stud things. So in here this includes a spanner which I actually took off my dad, and whenever he needs this size spanner he has to come into my grooming box. So sorry Dad. So that's just for screwing up my studs into Casper's hoof. And then I have a cute little pot of Vaseline which I put on this little cotton pad. I usually have more, but I have actually sort of run out, so I need to get some more. And I usually rip it into quarters, so usually 1/4 fits his stud hole pretty well. So I fill up his stud holes when he doesn't have studs in, just so it's easier to clean out, especially when you're in a rush for like shows and things like that. So I have some scissors. Everyone needs some scissors in their grooming kit. They just come in used. These are actually pretty good for cutting manes and tails. And then I have this wooden brush which has a little metal bristle here which I use for cleaning out Casper's stud holes. And I also have a little nail bit on the end for digging out all the dirt out of the stud holes as well. And what's really useful, if you ask your farrier, my farrier actually gave me one of the nails that they use for putting in horses' shoes, and that works a lot better than this for getting out dirt. So there's another quick little overview of how everything looks like in the bottom, and then I'll just pop my grooming tray. Now I know if you have more than one horse you should have more than one grooming kit just for hygienic reasons. To be honest, I don't groom Mickey or the donkeys very often. It's mainly Casper that I'm grooming. Now it's not because I'm neglecting them, it's because they're kept in the field all the time, and you shouldn't groom field kept ponies very often because it does get rid of all the natural oils in their coat. And a lot of people ask why I don't ride Mickey very often, and that's because he's getting on to 19 now and he is getting older with his respiratory problem and everything. He is only 13 hands, so I am a bit big for him, so I only ride him no more than once a week, so he's semi-retired. And then next I'll be going on to my blue grooming kit. Now the majority of the time if I open it up, this is actually what it looks like. So these are all the things that I keep in it basically almost all the time. However, most of you will probably know from my last vlog that I now keep all my spray bottles. So baby oil, tack cleaner, fly spray, mane detangler and stain remover, and these cute little pretty spray bottles which I got from the shop Tiger. It is a UK brand, I'm pretty sure, or it might be European. So I've only found these shops in London and Brighton, so basically in big cities. It's not an equestrian brand, it's just one of those shops that just sell everything you need but don't need. And then next to there I also have my sponges, which I do keep in my box as well when I do go to things like camp or pony club or shows, but for the time being I'm just keeping them up here. So this is how everything looks when I do have my spray bottles in, because I will put my spray bottles in when I do take Casper to camp or shows or pony club and things like that. So basically in this box I keep all shampoos, ointments, tack cleaning things and bits and bobs like that. The only other thing that I don't usually keep in my grooming box is just some usual hand soap, and I usually just keep it by my sink here just for when I need to wash my hands when I'm at the yard. So now I'll be going on to everything else that I keep in here. This is just some Gallop Blue shampoo, which is for grey or white horses, so it helps remove any yellow stains, which is really good, and I literally use it all the time. Then I have some mane and tail shampoo and conditioner. I don't actually think they sell this in the UK. I think it's definitely an American brand. So I've never actually seen these in my local tack shop, but I did actually get these from Urban Outfitters, so that's quite funny. Then I have some itchy mane liquid. I don't actually know what it was called, but basically you put it on your horse's mane or tail to stop them from rubbing it, and it basically soothes the skin and prevents it from feeling itchy, and I think it's also got some sort of antibacterial in it as well. Yeah, I just wrote on it in a Sharpie, just so then nobody thinks it's like apple juice or I don't know, food or anything like that. Then I have some Naff-Off citronella gel. This is really useful for putting on your horse's face, especially if they don't like having fly spray. To be honest, my horses are really good with having fly spray on, so this wasn't essential, but it was on offer when I did buy the fly spray. It did come with it, so I have been using it quite a lot, and it's really useful, especially when your horse is tacked up and you just want to put it around their eyes and you don't particularly want to get fly spray all over their bridle and tack and everything. This is just, you know, regular hoof oil. I don't use it that much because I feel like it's more to make their hooves look shiny. I feel like hoof oil doesn't really do much, maybe even makes their hooves more dried out because it prevents water going into your horse's hooves. So when you do use hoof oil, just make sure that you wet your horse's hooves first to lock in the moisture rather than preventing moisture going into your horse's hooves. And then obviously if you have hoof oil, you're going to need a hoof oil brush. And I actually used to use like a normal paintbrush before I got this one, but to be honest, they're both really the same, it doesn't really matter. I don't know if you can see at the top, I did put some nail polish on it, just so then it didn't get mixed up with anybody's at camp. And then I just have some leather conditioner, and I just use this after cleaning my tack to make it all soft. And it did actually come with a free sponge, which is really nice. If you have oiled or conditioned your tack, this is a really good thing to do. This is some walking boot wax. I use this over the top of my tack when I've conditioned or oiled it. This just locks in the moisture and prevents all the oils from sort of leaking out, and I do use this over the top of my riding boots just to sort of protect them and things like that. And then I also just have some makeup remover wipes. You can use like baby wipes, things like that. These were quite cheap, they're just from Superdrug, and I got for dry skin just because Mickey has really sensitive skin, being a cremello or white pony or whatever colour you would choose to call him. Now this is just some purple spray. If you don't know what it is, it's basically an antibacterial spray that you use on your horse if it has a wound. We've actually had this for years and years and years before we got Mickey and Casper and everything, when we just had the donkeys. But there was one time where Willow got a little cut on her ear and we sprayed it on, and she had like a purple ear for like a month or something, so this does like really stain. It did have a label on, but over time it's just sort of deteriorated, so I just sort of scrubbed it off. And then the last thing I have is just a mane brush. Now you might think, Esme, why do you have two mane brushes? Well, it's actually really useful because my friend Scarlett got this for me for my birthday, which was so nice, and I love how all the bristles are like multicoloured. And this is from the company Horse Health or Lemire, though the label has started to scrape off because I have used it so much. But I like to use this whenever I use mane or tail spray or detangler, just because I like to have different mane brushes for that, so then my other brush doesn't get sticky. And also, especially if you're pulling your horse's mane, you don't want to have any detangler in it because that makes it really slippery and everything, and then it's harder to make it thinner. So yeah, that's everything that's in my last grooming box. So I hope you all enjoyed the video and enjoyed seeing everything that's in my grooming boxes, just because a lot of you have asked to do a tack room tour, and I think I'm going to do like little bits of my tack room time by time, just because if I did do it in one big video it would be so long and I don't want it to be too boring. So I hope you enjoyed seeing everything in my grooming boxes and how they're sort of organised, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for my show vlog. Bye!